Welcome to South Bend, Indiana, home to Notre Dame, the #2 lacrosse team in the nation. The success of the Fighting Irish this season has been their defense, tops in the country. But today they will face the nation's leading scorer in Dave Emila and Big East Conference foe Georgetown, who's looking to pull off the upset. College Lacrosse on ESPNU is next. Welcome to Old Spice College Lacrosse from South Bend, Indiana, and Arlotta Stadium on a beautiful Sunday afternoon here in early April as we get ready for a Big East Conference matchup as Georgetown gets set to take on #2 Notre Dame. Hi, everybody. Nice to have you along with us this afternoon. Thanks for tuning in. Mike Corey alongside former Denver head coach Jamie Monroe. And this is a big game, obviously, for Notre Dame trying to stay undefeated. But, Jamie, it may be even more important for Georgetown.
This is huge for Georgetown. It's a program that hasn't made the NCAA tournament in 3 years, and they have an opportunity here and now to get a top 5 win that could break that streak. What an opportunity for the Georgetown Hoyas.
All right, let's take a look now at our Warrior Impact players first for the Georgetown Hoyas.
Barney Ehrman, one of the best players in Division I lacrosse, going to be a great pro, gets up and down the field, great stick work, great defenseman. And Davey Emila kind of came out of nowhere to be the leading goal scorer on the team, second leading goal scorer in the country. The kid plays physical. He shoots it around screens. He's more of an off-the-ball guy. He'll catch it on cuts like this. Great shooter. The coaches say he works harder than anybody on the team, and you can see it with his skill set.
Emila, a big reason why Georgetown is one of the top offensive scoring teams in the nation, averaging almost 12 goals per game. Now, how about the Warrior Impact players for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish?
Well, it starts with John Kemp. John Kemp is 4th in save percentage in the NCAA. He's #1 in goals allowed and has one of the best defensive coaches around. Incredible player. And then Zach Brenneman, 5th pick in the MLL draft. He's a do-it-all matey. He's big, strong, fast, can shoot it lefty, righty. And he's a little banged up this year, so his stats don't show it, but what a great player.
All right, so Notre Dame trying to stay undefeated at 8-0, and there's the guy hopefully that could head them to that direction. Kevin Corrigan, the head coach, his 23rd season as Notre Dame's head man, and for the Georgetown Hoyas, Dave Urich in his 22nd year, 32nd overall, spent 10 years as the head coach at Hobart, and trying to get his team back to the NCAA tournament, as you heard Jamie say, for the first time in 4 years. Been a little bit of time there for Georgetown. We'll see if they can make it happen here this afternoon as we get ready for the opening face-off at the X. What a day here today in South Bend. It was beautiful yesterday. Everybody was telling us about heads up, it could be raining, it could be a tough one here today on a Sunday, but it has turned out to be a beautiful day here for college lacrosse, and this is what it's all about in early April. We are ready for the start of this one. For Georgetown, Tyler Naar at the X, and almost had it initially, but it's going to be picked up by Notre Dame. We'll call push, and it'll go over to the Hoyas as we get set.
Georgetown's facing off with long poles today. Tyler Naar and Patrick Murray from Denver, Colorado. I coached his older brother, Joey. And, they probably feel like they're going to have their best chance to not only win the draw, but also put some pressure on. These kids are big, strong, fast athletes.
Here's Max Seligman for Georgetown as the Hoyas start out on offense for the first time this afternoon. What are you looking for here if you're Georgetown?
Well, what they're going to try to do is really try to, A, get some great possession, and B, try to figure out how to penetrate this defense of Notre Dame because they play such a smart, sagging style. Watch them help from every adjacent. Watch them crowd the crease. Georgetown's going to have to try to find some seams.
Once again, back over to Seligman, the senior midfielder, one of the captains here for the Hoyas, trying to work it in. Does so, shoots, and the save by John Kemp, and the goalie for Notre Dame, who's had a phenomenal season, the sophomore who we talked about from Potomac, Maryland.
Watch Notre Dame attack in transition. They're classic about this. They put a little pressure on. They see what's happening after a great defensive stand. Then they'll settle down. Watch for Notre Dame to basically take their time. Not to kill clock, but they run a motion offense in which they really, really possess the ball.
Notre Dame typically not scoring a ton this season, not known for the offense, really been known about the defense. Of course, #1 in the nation, as we talked about at the start of the broadcast. Well, let's see what happens here offensively for them. Working it in, Max Pfeiffer passes behind the cage, and Sean Rogers. Top attackman for the Fighting Irish. So back up to Pfeiffer.
Notre Dame is an improved offense from last year. They had the middies last year, as you can see from moves like this, but their attack didn't come through for them. And this year, their attack is scoring goals.
Pfeiffer again behind the cage for Rogers. And the pass intercepted and taken away. Nice defensive play by Georgetown's Dan Hostetler, the junior defenseman.
Hostetler, a former attackman / meaty. When I was at Denver, we recruited that kid, loved his athleticism. And actually, the Hoss from the New York Giants,
right,
that's his uncle. So he's got a little bit of athleticism in his bloodline.
A lot of connections out here on the field today to some former not just lacrosse players, but professionals. We'll get into that. It's Georgetown back with it on offense here. What about the pace of game here today? Obviously Georgetown puts up a lot of numbers, but what do you think this could be like?
Well, Georgetown wants to play fast. They want to push the ball. They want to dodge. They want to get a lot of shots off. And Notre Dame kind of wants to play the opposite, although they will attack and transition. They've always been good there. They play a slow, packed-in style of defense and a real patient offense.
Brett Weiss right now for Georgetown. Swings it behind the cage for Marabito. Pass up top for Dan McKinney. McKinney for the Hoyas.
When you watch Notre Dame play, they force you into taking bad shots. They've got a great goalie, but you just don't get a ton of great shots on these guys, and they just kind of make it look easy.
Here's one right here, a little wide to the right that time by Marabito. It'll stay with Georgetown. When I caught up with Kevin Ridgway from Notre Dame yesterday, the defenseman for the Fighting Irish, he talked about it. He said, hey, we'll let guys take shots from, 15 yards out. We know Kemp's going to make those saves. We're just going to kind of pack it in and not let anybody get the good looks in front of the net.
That's right. But it's not just distance, it's angle. So, the first shot of the game was a low-angle shot, stick to the outside, easy save for a goalie like Kemp. That last one was a pretty good chance. A little miscommunication on the pick. Let's see what happens right here.
Marabito trying to feed it in front. It was a stall warning, but anyhow, Notre Dame's going to come up with it. Good play there, and coming over the midfield line now with it just kind of shoving it along, and Notre Dame in a little fast break. Shot, score! And right off the bat, Fighting Irish take a 1-0 advantage.
How'd you like the hockey skills to create that ground ball? It was a one hockey to one player, another hockey player, and then a goose straight up the field.
Sean Rogers with the goal. 1-0 Notre Dame.
Look at this, textbook shot. Sets his feet high to low. You want to have a repertoire of shots, but when you could just power one high to low past the goalie, it's the hardest shot to save.
4 minutes in, and Notre Dame scores first, and they win the face-off. And then they throw it away.
We could have had a little face-off offense there with a nice plunger move as Notre Dame's face-off guys able to pull it forward and create some offense.
There's Liam O'Connor there winning the face-off for Notre Dame, but unable to get it on offense. Let's go to your keys to the game here first for Georgetown. Jamie, thoughts what you need from these guys?
Well, when I talk about the little things, that's another word for playing smart. They need to make sure that they take care of the ball, that they take smart shots, and that they're helping. And then on the other side, they got to make saves. It's going to be critical for them. I know their coaches have been happy with their goaltending, but I think today it's going to have to be better than normal.
Talk about the defense already here for Notre Dame, just continue to put pressure on Georgetown as they try to get close to the cage. And once again, back over to Ricky Marabito for the Hoyas.
Watch how the Notre Dame team sags in, how they help, how they communicate. You can hear them screaming. You hear Kemp screaming. These guys are just so well coached. Jerry Byrne, Kevin Corrigan referred to him as the best coach he's ever been around.
Seligman through traffic. Has to go behind the cage with it. Did get by a couple defenders there, but didn't have the look at the shot.
Now, this is called an invert situation, Mike. This is where they take a short stick and play him behind the net. And this is one place I think you can attack Notre Dame, only because most teams will play a special invert package on defense, and Notre Dame doesn't. And you can see, actually, there was a guy open, even though they threw it away, but that's one of those little things, huh, Mike?
Absolutely. They had to keep it in. It was Seligman trying to get it over to Brian Casey, a turnover. Play a huge factor in a game like this when goals maybe are tough to come by. Notre Dame up 1-0. How about the keys to victory for them, Jamie?
Well, getting to 10 They may not even need to get to 10 with their defense, but I kind of feel like, that's going to be a magic number for them as the season wears on when they're playing top caliber competition. If they get to 10 goals, they're going to win a lot of games.
Last game for Notre Dame, coming off the 12-8 win against Villanova. Playing some tough competition, that's for sure. Good pass in front. Oh, unable to hang on to it, though, was Nicholas Beatty. It'll be Georgetown ball. 5 ranked opponents for the Fighting Irish this season. They've beaten them all, of course, 7-0. 3-0 here at home. Just under 9 minutes left in the first quarter, and it's a 1-0 Notre Dame advantage on the goal by Sean Rogers, right after they won the faceoff. Georgetown almost threw it away. They did. He stepped on the sideline out of bounds. Dan Hostetter.
All right, so you want to talk about little things. Here we are in the clearing game, and Coach Yerk referred to it in our conference call earlier in the week, that they were sloppy on their clears. Right there, the reason why that was sloppy is the goalie settled for like a 35-yard pass in which he could have positioned himself to make an easy one, to run it closer, to make a closer, easier look. Now they give it right back to Notre Dame.
Fighting Irish, hard shot over wide of the cage, that time by Zach Brenneman, who he talked about at the start, the 6'3" senior from East Hampton, New York.
And he went right at Barney Ehrman on that one. Got himself a nice shot off. That's a matchup that you just love to watch. 2 future pros going hard right at each other.
Yeah, I'm just going to say 2 of our Warrior Impact players that we talked about. Going over to Georgetown here, as you said, at Brenneman going against Ehrman.
Notre Dame ended up in the crease on that last dodge. What I liked about it is you have an attackman going straight at his man. In order to beat a defenseman at this level, you can't just go east-west. You have to go north-south. What that means is the ball is north, the goal is south. You go right at your guy, through your guy.
Georgetown able to work it into the zone. As you were saying, Coach Yerk, he had said earlier this week that just a fundamental that they were having trouble with was clearing the ball. It's like, we just got to get it over and get ourselves an opportunity and a chance here, and they haven't done that. 3 turnovers so far in the first half, here first quarter. Notre Dame's actually got 4 turnovers. Seligman again. Trying to start it off for Georgetown. Emila passes in front. Double team and a shot and a goal by Travis Como. What a play through traffic, and we're tied at 1.
Notre Dame did a great job of covering up the first dodge and getting it through. They covered the backside dodge, and then they're in good position. All of a sudden, Como, the Canadian, this is a tough shot. I almost feel like for Notre Dame, you don't feel so bad about giving this up. This is just a great play, a great shot. A Canadian showing his box lacrosse prowess.
Hey, darn right about that. Emila on the assist, and Travis Como, his 21st goal of the season for Georgetown to tie the game at 1. Last time Notre Dame won the faceoff with Liam O'Connor and just took it right down the field, and Sean Rogers got the goal. It's a legal procedure here, and Notre Dame's got it. Tyler Narr was at the X with O'Connor for Notre Dame, and Fighting Irish having an offense. They've won all 3 faceoffs so far here this afternoon. We're tied at 1.
I'll tell you right now, when you violate on faceoffs and they send you off, I don't know if you noticed that, but if you violate, they'll make you leave the field. It's not a great thing, but when you have a pole up there, it's actually a pretty big deal.
Good shot there. Again, a little wide to the right by Rogers for Notre Dame. Yeah, that was the rule change from last year.
Yeah.
They had a run off.
From a couple years ago. But you hate to have a pole having a run off, especially a lot of times it's one of your best poles.
Yeah.
And so you hate to see those guys violate.
Midway through the first quarter here from South Bend, Indiana, Notre Dame and Georgetown.
Georgetown was not traditionally a sliding team, and now they are. And I think that this is how you're going to see Notre Dame hurt them, because I don't think they're great at sliding and recovering as far as like the way Notre Dame is and with their timing. You're going to see some goals scored today where the slides come and there's some open skip passing lanes or open guys on the crease.
Pat Cotter's got it right now for Notre Dame. Kepler now. Kepler getting hit hard, gives it up. Easy in front and a goal. Rogers again. Second of the afternoon from Kepler.
What a play. Rolling back to the middle, devastates a defense, fights through the double, and finds a way to get the ball down. And a great left-handed finish. Look at the way that this player is able to fight around and get the ball down to Rogers for a nice finish, wrap-around finish.
Rogers' 13th goal of the season, leading Notre Dame. And the second today, they lead it 2-1. Just over 6 minutes left here in the first quarter. We'll see if Georgetown can pick up a face-off. It's 3-0 so far, Notre Dame, and that's how they'll get one. That time is Patrick Murray for Georgetown at the X. Now a chance to respond to the offensive end.
Talking to Jerry Byrne, assistant coach at Notre Dame, before the game, one of the things they were most worried about was Como getting the ball when the ball got dumped down and through X. He follows it. The way they just scored that goal was probably the #1 thing that they were concerned about in terms of guarding Georgetown. So we'll see if they keep looking. Watch for Como finding seams after dodges and dump downs.
Well, last time, it didn't even look like Como even had a seam, and he was just able to fire the shot and get the goal. Imola with it right now. Jeff Fountain controls it for Georgetown. There's Como again. Again through traffic. Shot a little wide to the left. Backed up by Imola.
Nice little toe drag would be the equivalent in hockey, the way that Como was able to sort of low face dodge, Canadian face dodge his way into the middle. It was a nice opportunity.
He's a small guy. He's pretty shifty at 5'8", 153 pounds, a sophomore. Now Brett Weiss. Good pass in front to Como, and he shoots and scores again.
You know, looking at the way Georgetown was playing this, they had opportunities earlier than this because they were struggling to recover. Sure enough, you can see it took him a while to find Como, but the recovery didn't quite get there. He was finally almost arriving to the play when Como was able to catch a tight pass, duck under, dive for the finish.
Some pretty exciting shots by Como here in this first half for Georgetown to tie this one up at 2 on the feed from Brett Weiss. You can face up.
You can really tell when a defense is in trouble when their recovery is taking too long. And normally, Notre Dame is incredible at recovering quickly and bouncing up after they've had to double team.
It was Patrick Murray for Georgetown at the faceoff and Jake Marmol for Notre Dame. Ball still loose. Fighting Irish will come up with it, and Marmol does so. Gives it up, Tyler Anderson. Anderson shoots an out shot just off, and I think Jack Davis, the goalkeeper, got a piece of it for Georgetown. It goes out to stay with Notre Dame.
Marmol, the face-off man, dealing with the pressure from Ehrman at the midfield. They actually, Ehrman tried to go over his head, tried to create a little bit of havoc up there in the midline. The athleticism of the Notre Dame face-off man gets it through and creates a scoring chance.
Pfeiffer now shoots it off the cage. He drove it right in. The junior midfielder from Virginia had a pretty good look. They're just a couple inches off. Now Westy Hopkins for Notre Dame. Defended by Bobby Boyle for Georgetown. He's all over him.
In years past, Boyle never would have slid to that play, and I think that's where Notre Dame's going to get their offense. Here it is again. Watch this.
Pfeiffer shoots, deflected. Boyle right in front, playing all out right now. Whistle, push on Notre Dame. Georgetown ball. How about Boyle defensively there, the senior, for a little bit, making some plays.
Yeah, these guys, I mean, you know, they got great athletes, but I feel like they're creating a little bit of offense for these guys.
Turnover in the takeaway. Notre Dame's got it. Spinning, shooting. Bobby Smith just missed it off to the left.
That's the power of the windup right there. That defenseman, Smith, comes down the field. They think he's going to shoot. They're bracing for the shot, and he's able to spin around his man and make a play. That would have been a highlight reel goal.
8 shots for Notre Dame so far in this first half. 5 for Georgetown. We're tied at 2. Coming up on 3 minutes left here in this first quarter of play. Kind of your first quarter assessment so far here, if you will, if you're Georgetown right now with the ball.
Well, Georgetown's got to be happy that they're scoring some goals here. I think Notre Dame's going to be a little frustrated that they've given up some goals that they probably don't want to, particularly in the last one with a poor recovery.
Seligman trying to work it back in. Going up against Jake Brems for Notre Dame. Up top, Brian Casey. Casey. And knocked out of a stick and lost it. Now the takeaway. Good play, Notre Dame. Kevin Ridgway gives it up now to Devin Dobson. Now here's a shot off and the save by Jack Davis. Dobson on the attempt.
I'll tell you one thing that the staff at Notre Dame is not happy about right now is 2 shots in a row not backed up. You know, when a shot turns into a turnover instead of just your possession behind, it's a problem for your team. That's 2 times in a row in transition.
When you talk about when they've been able to get the turnover right there, they didn't waste any time. They're trying to get up the field, beat them in transition, but you're right, not having somebody back there has hurt them the last couple of times. Do you think they want to slow it up a little bit, or do they want to run like that when you come up with the turnover?
Well, I think they want to run. They've always been great in transition, and it's hard for the attackmen sometimes because they're trying to sneak. They feel like, you know, hey, I'm going to be open. If I sneak, I'll score a goal. But at the end of the day, if you don't back that shot up, you know, it's a huge problem for your team.
Emila scored 26 goals on the season. 7 of them have been in a man-up situation. But it's been Como today so far that's got the 2 on the board for Georgetown. Casey behind the net. Casey going to attempt it himself. Off to the right, picked up Como. He's in the crease. Notre Dame ball.
Look at how quickly Notre Dame gets that ball out of the box, waiting for the quick whistle. By doing this, they can attack and get the ball up the field for either an easier clear or a potential transition.
One minute to go here in this first quarter at Notre Dame. Tied at 2. Fighting Irish scored first. Georgetown came back to tie it up. And again, Notre Dame, and again, Georgetown. The same player has scored for each team. Rogers, Sean Rogers for Notre Dame, and Travis Como for Georgetown. Pat Cotter. Cotter up high. The pass for Rogers. Shoots. Save. Jack Davis and Cage for Georgetown.
I don't think the spacing has been great for Notre Dame's offense. I say this because they're not drawing easy and obvious slides like I think they could if they were spaced out a little bit better. And they just settle for a 15-yarder. They can do better than that. They're not undefeated from taking 15-yard shots every time, that's for sure.
Another turnover here by Georgetown. That's the thing with Notre Dame, the team to play smart and take care of the ball, play good defense, and the key to their success this season and being 7-0 and undefeated.
Another failed clear for Georgetown there.
Murphy working it in for Notre Dame. Shoots. Another great save in front by Davis of Georgetown. Closing in on the end of the first quarter. He's come up huge to keep this thing tied at 2. And that's how we'll end up here at the end of the first. Now some pretty exciting shots from both teams here early on in this Big East Conference matchup. It's been Rogers for Notre Dame with 2 and Como for Georgetown. Here's Rogers coming up the field. Started things off for Notre Dame. Georgetown able to come back. Como, we're tied at 2. First quarter complete. Back to South Bend with the start of the second right after this. Old Spice College Lacrosse continues this afternoon from South Bend. We're tied at 2 as we get set to start the second quarter. But first, let's flash you back to last year's 2010 NCAA Championship game. When the Fighting Irish and Duke winning the opening faceoff extra session. C.J. Costabile raced down the middle of the field, dodged several defensemen, and unleashed a high shot into the net. Duke with a 6-5 overtime victory in the school's first NCAA men's lacrosse national title. The two teams combined for just 11 goals, making the lowest scoring output in an NCAA men's lacrosse championship game. And Kevin Corrigan, over the last 6 seasons, phenomenal, 67-20. The farthest point they've got to for the title game there last year. And hey, what about their chances to perhaps get there again this year? We'll have to wait and see.
We will. I think they are better this year, even though they graduated arguably the best goalie in the last decade. But they are so much better offensively than they were last year, and they were obviously an OT goal away from winning it last year. I think it's up for grabs. I think the other biggest factor, honestly, Mike, is that there are no dominant teams right now. You see Denver just took it to Duke. You see so much parity in Division I lacrosse. There's a lot of teams I think that could win it now.
Yeah, a lot more so this year, you would think. And for Georgetown, needing a signature win here to try to boost their resume up to get into the tournament. They haven't been for 3 straight seasons. This could be a huge one here today versus the number 2 ranked team of the country in Notre Dame. That's why this is so important for Georgetown, who's at 5-4 on the season. They've got it on offense right now. Behind the cage, Zach Angel. See the tough defense from Notre Dame does not give it up much of an opening.
Slow recovery.
Emila now.
Sometimes you can battle a slow recovery with a little bit of pressure on the ball with a long pole. So they got stuck on the double there, moved the ball, but that pole did a great job of keeping the ball in the stick of the next pass.
Casey behind the net for Georgetown. Devin Dobson's on him for Notre Dame. Casey working it in front, trying to find Emila. And it's Notre Dame ball.
Watch David Earl dodge in transition.
Earl shoots. That's off the top of the cage. It'll go out.
I loved David Earl when he was a high school player. I wanted him to come to Denver so bad. I loved the way he played. And I said to Coach Corrigan, I was like, he might be my favorite player on your team. And, you know, he is just an all-around throwback type of a midfielder. He can score, he can feed, he can defend. He's one of the toughest, fastest, hardest working guys. Went to the Westminster School up in Simsbury, Connecticut. A prep school boy, 3-sport athlete.
Earl, the senior, has done a nice job offensively and defensively too. And now another shot in front, hard shot and off to the right again. Wow, flurry of attempts right there.
I don't know how the refs didn't just blow the flag. It looked to me that the guy pushed him with that, he dropped the stick and pushed him. That was Hostetler going to the rack.
Yeah, working it in. Dumps it in front, trying to find Como. Instead picked up by Marabito. That was one thing when we talked to Coach Urich this past week. It said in his last game there wasn't any penalties called at all in that win he had over Mount St. Mary's on Tuesday, 13-7.
They're all very fair players.
Yeah. 12.5 to go here in this second quarter of play from South Bend, Indiana at Arlotta Stadium. Georgetown and Notre Dame. Big East matchup here this afternoon. The Fighting Irish trying to stay undefeated at 8-0. Shot by Emila that time for Georgetown. Deflected out by John Kemp, the goalkeeper for Notre Dame. Georgetown looking to get back in here. Mike Corey alongside Jamie Monroe. Nice to have you along with us here this Sunday afternoon. Beautiful day in South Bend. At 80 degrees and sunshine, just like we had yesterday here. And
it's always 80 degrees here in South Bend, isn't it?
That's right. I don't know what everybody was talking about. It's been a great weekend here. Marabito in front. Emila. Tough to get looks at the net if you're Georgetown here against the #1 defense in the country, and Notre Dame giving up just 6.1 goals per game, and you see some of the reasons why.
Well, and I also see what Coach Byrne was so worried about with Como. Let's watch this invert and see how Notre Dame plays it. Usually the inside gets open on Notre Dame on inverts.
Fountain back and forth, left and right, trying to make moves behind the net. Looking for Emila. Como's got it.
Not that time. Okay, watch when next time down. Keep an eye when a midi dodges. Keep an eye on Como. Keep an eye on the way he pops up behind the ball and then cuts hard down to it. And he's open in there all the time.
There he is again. Shoots on the low liner, and that's off to the left. Backed up, though. It'll stay with the Hoyas here, and they'll get a couple of substitutions into the ball game as Como has scored both of Georgetown's goals in this first half, in the first quarter. A scoreless second quarter thus far. Coming up on 11 minutes to go as we're tied at 2.
Emela's been rather quiet. One of the plays that he likes to do is, see where he's lined up behind the net right now. He likes to attract his defender a little bit and try to take what they call at Notre Dame a submarine cut, which is a cut around the backside of the net right here, where he's going to try to catch that thing and maybe come ball side.
There's Como right now. Casey's behind the net with Seligman and Angel, the midfield right now for Georgetown.
You can have some success on pick and rolls with Notre Dame, I think sometimes. They switch everything, and if you slip your pick early enough, you're going to have an opportunity. What a take that was.
Shot by Seligman for the goal. Max Seligman, the senior midfielder for Georgetown, has put the Hoyas on top for the first time this afternoon.
Well, a late slide. You can see a Georgetown player clearing through in front of the ball right here, and there should have been a slide a little bit earlier. And Coach Byrne is going to be unhappy with that defensively, because they could have taken that away if they were a little bit more aware.
Seligman on the goal there, 9th of the season, has put Georgetown on top for the first time today, 3-2. Brian Tabb at the face-off for Georgetown, but Notre Dame's going to win it, and Jake Marmol comes up with it. And now into the hands of goalkeeper Jack Davis. Davis got run over here.
Go for
Hoya ball. Face-offs 5-2 in favor of Notre Dame so far here in this first half. Now how about this, when you're Georgetown, to be able to come play from ahead like this here? I know it's early, of course, and Notre Dame typically has kind of started slow. They usually have been off to a slow start, and today, getting the first goal of the game, it was actually 5 of their first 7 ball games they've given up the first goal of the game.
Yeah, they've been down early in a bunch of their games this year, and the way they play, most of their games tend to be close. They do not, they don't play up-tempo enough to really blow too many people out. It's more like the other team blows themselves out with bad plays. Let's see if they get a timely slide here.
Hoyas, turnover. Brett Weiss trying to get it over to Brian Casey, and that's just going to kill you, especially in the offensive end like that. A chance to tack on one here on top, 3-2. Goals by Como and Seligman. But now Notre Dame ball, just under 10 minutes to go in the second quarter.
Well, it's plays like that's just killing this team, because they're good enough to score anytime down.
Fighting Irish down, a hard shot that time put on by Quinn Cully, the midfielder for Notre Dame.
You want to talk about little things. They just had a nice ride on, and then they let a midi get behind every single guy, and they gave him an opportunity that probably should have been a goal for Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame, if they just sharpen up a little bit, I think they're going to have a good chance of catching up in this game and pulling away in the end.
Ryan Schuler is in now at attack for Georgetown, the senior, one of the captains from Chevy Chase, Maryland. Now he's going to come out. Back with Casey here, the midfielder for the Hoyas, on top 3-2, 9 minutes to go in the second quarter. Casey being checked behind the net by Devin Dobson. Casey, a deflected, got it back, lost it out of the back of the stick. Good defensive play again. Notre Dame coming up with it. Sam Barnes.
Notre Dame needs a possession here. I don't think they've really had one for this quarter. They need to slow the ball down a little bit and give their defense a break. Georgetown putting a little pressure on the perimeter. You see how far they're playing out, pressuring.
And we got a whistle. We got a timeout here, and Notre Dame's going to take a timeout to talk it over. And we'll take one as well. 8:19 to go in this first half. Georgetown with the 1-goal advantage right now over the Fighting Irish. Georgetown with a 3-2 advantage right now over number 2 Notre Dame here in the second quarter. ESPNU's coverage of college baseball continues tonight with an in-state battle as number 16 UC Irvine faces number 13 Cal State Fullerton. College baseball on ESPNU tonight at 5 Eastern. Great day here at South Bend, 80 degrees and sunshine from our Lotta Stadium. as Notre Dame is attempting to stay undefeated on the season. They're 7-0, one of only 2 undefeated teams left in men's college lacrosse, alongside of Syracuse, able to knock off Princeton yesterday. Notre Dame with the #1 defense in the country, but offensively right now, Jamie, got to kind of get things going a little bit here, down just by a goal, but offensively, what are you expecting out of these guys?
Well, I expect them to be a little sharper. You know, it's hard when you are undefeated and have to be perfect in every single game, and I understand all that, but they've been a little bit sloppy. They've thrown the ball away a little bit too much. They haven't had great spacing for their dodges. If they'll get their spacing down and make Georgetown slide, I think they're going to get plenty of opportunities. Look how spread out they are right now. This is what they're going for.
Notre Dame on the offense right now. Here's the shot and a score. David Earl puts it in. Notre Dame ties it up.
This is a classic example of a left-handed player going down to his right as hard as he can and being able to get himself back to his left hand with a little bit of a look-back fake. He gets in there. This is why I love this kid.
Look at David Earl.
Did you notice how much more spread out they were on this play?
Oh, you talked about, here's our player profile brought to you by Sector Spiders, and Earl with 5 assists this season, but an unbelievable play there on the goal to drive in.
He's just a very strong, physical, and he's a very deceptive player. I don't know if you noticed the subtlety of the little fakes that he throws that cause those slides to stay away, the little look-back fake.
Earl had 2 assists that caused turnover in the last game of the win against Villanova on the season. It's a nice job picking up ground balls, forcing turnovers, feeding his teammates, and now scoring here to tie this ball game up at 3-3 with 8:01 left in the second quarter. Sometimes like that after a timeout, right? You want to be able to kind of have a successful offensive set.
Your
That's
players,
exactly what they got.
Your players can make you look pretty smart or pretty stupid coming out of a timeout. In that case, Coach Corrigan looks brilliant.
Boy, he's trying to get it over. Dan McKinney.
They're going to get the clear, but I think the degree of difficulty on that play is not what you're exactly looking for as far as your clearing game.
Well, the ride from Notre Dame, as you said, I think it's kind of taken on a little bit more of a new life, right? It wasn't always the case. It's something that you would expect from Notre Dame, right?
Yeah, no question.
Making it difficult. Georgetown possession here. Brett Weiss will trigger in Kevin Corrigan. Not happy, of course, as you can hear. And he had a real spirited practice yesterday. I had a chance to watch both Notre Dame and Georgetown practice here yesterday afternoon. And he was getting on the guys a little bit. I mean, you have to be. You know, you're undefeated, but, you know, everybody's out to get you. And he knows how important this game is for Georgetown.
The more your team is winning, the tougher you can and probably need to be on your team to make sure that they keep doing the little things. And that's, I talked about that with Georgetown. It's the little things, the little decisions that make you win or lose.
Jason McFadden has it right now for the Hoyas. Behind the cage is Marabito. McFadden trying to work it in. Knocked away. What a defensive play. Notre Dame on defense. Picking it up. Quinn Cully. Real simple right there. Just knock it away, pick it up, take it over, and now Notre Dame's on offense.
Like, people may notice the check and that the ball went on the ground, but what I noticed was that unbelievable positioning as far as the way that midfielder was taking away the topside angle for that one-on-one opportunity. And I'll tell you, half the time, people will bring it right in front of their own face and strip themselves if you just play good position defense.
Well, that time Rogers just lost it on the sideline for Notre Dame. Just hit the line. And Georgetown will start it up, try to get the clear here.
A much better clear there for the Georgetown Hoyas, making it look as easy as it probably should be when it's 7 against 6 every time you clear the ball.
Emola now. See if he starts to get into the act a little bit here this afternoon. Top goal scorer in the nation.
Emola's got to get the ball for his one-on-one opportunities off of passes. that's when he's very dangerous. Like right here would be a great time for him to try to go.
He's got it right now. It was Como here today that's been able to get some shots off, some quick passes, some great passes by his teammates so far here in this first half. Here's one in front. Behind the back shot by Zach Angel. A little bit of pretty goal, and he just missed it off to the right in the race to it. And it's going to be won by Notre Dame. A couple of Georgetown players down. Angel fell down after the play.
It was a great cut. It was an even better handle, the way that Angel was able to handle his ball, and the finish was the right idea. I don't think he's had enough reps in his life at that shot to be able to just make that look easy.
Went right into his teammate Marabito. A little shaken up on the play. We're tied at 3. 5:20 here. Second quarter. Kemp got it knocked away. Now he's going to get back. Hard shot put on there by Jerry Riley of Georgetown. Going after it. The Tyler Brenneman there of Notre Dame.
Georgetown is pressing up a little bit on their ride, and you'll notice their defense is cheating way up the field. The deep over-the-top attackman tends to be open here.
And Notre Dame's going to turn it over here. As Brenneman lost it. We're tied at 3, under 5 minutes to go here in this second quarter. ESPN News coverage of Old Spice College Lacrosse continues Saturday with 2 exciting matchups at noon Eastern. Number 9, Virginia takes on number 4, Duke. Then at 8 Eastern, number 3, Johns Hopkins faces number 5, Maryland. Old Spice College Lacrosse next Saturday right here on ESPNU. It's going to be a great day. But Johns Hopkins kind of getting right back up there in the top 5. Do you feel like they've arrived yet, or they still got a little ways to go?
Well, they're clearly much better now than they were earlier in the season when I saw them against Princeton.
There's a shot by Max Seligman for Georgetown. The save, John Kemp for Notre Dame. Staying with the Hoyas here, putting on some pressure here this afternoon. Tied at 3. Gotta like the intensity, so far what you've seen from Georgetown, don't you think?
Oh, they're playing really hard. I mean, both of these teams are playing pretty sloppily. I would really like to see this game sharpen up a little bit and see what these teams can really do. I mean, Notre Dame's thrown it away twice in a row on clears, and then Georgetown threw it away on the ensuing loose ball. And it would be great to see just a little higher level of lacrosse here and see what these teams can really do.
Dan McKinney off to the right. A save there by John Kemp. Good play in front. And quickly clears it out. 5 saves now for Kemp here this afternoon. Quinn Cully comes over the midfielder for the Fighting Irish. Yeah, absolutely.
Here's where Notre Dame has been struggling. And this was probably why they called timeout. Because every time they get the ball down on offense, they're putting their guys, they're putting themselves in bad positions to be pressured.
Well, the last time they took a timeout, they came out and they scored a goal to tie it up. We'll see what happens here. We'll return under 4 to go in the second, tied at 3. Tied at 3, Georgetown, and number 2, Notre Dame here this afternoon from South Bend. Under 4 minutes to go in this first half. Monday on Gruden QB Camp. John Gruden breaks down the top quarterback prospects in the upcoming draft and sits down with quarterback Jake Locker to point out the good and bad as only Gruden can. Gruden QB Camp. Jake Locker on ESPNU Monday at 7 Eastern.
Backside guy, you got to get there quickly. So that when this guy goes, he's going to get a quick slide. Now listen to me. Look at me. When they get this quick slide, which they will, he's probably going to have to push it there. This may be open, but probably there. And you're going to have looks everywhere. Irish on 3, 1, 2, 3. Irish.
Kevin Corrigan, head coach for Notre Dame. After the timeout here.
Well, what he's trying to do is he's trying to set up his offense similar to when they came out of their last timeout. They want to spread Georgetown out a little bit, run by somebody probably from the midfield and see if they can draw a slide. And I think if they'll settle down and do this, they're going to score lots of goals.
Colin Igo and Westy Hopkins are sitting right in front of the net right now for Notre Dame. Igo make it, yes, he puts it in. Colin Igo, the senior, gets the feed and throws it in for the 4th goal this afternoon for Notre Dame.
So they went to the top dodging of the 1-4-1 set, spread them out, quick dodge, early slide, and a great finish down low.
9th of the year for Colin Igo on the feed from David Earl, who we've talked a lot about so far here in this first half. Face-off. Won by Brian Tabb of Georgetown, who played to flip it right back to his teammate, Matt Sutherland.
It's too bad Notre Dame doesn't have like 10 timeouts a half. If they could just call timeout every time, they could score a ton of goals.
Well, that's what they needed. They've scored 2 goals coming after timeouts. 1 to tie it up, then 1 to take the lead. Will Georgetown respond? Here's a push with possession. Flag is down. First of the afternoon. And our first man-up opportunity here today, and it's going to be for Georgetown.
Barnes on the foul. He was not happy about this call because the guy kind of stumbled into him a little bit, and he stumbled right into his stick. It made it look like a hold. I think that's probably what they called here. And a frustrating play for a defenseman, but it shows you the value of being physical and getting into your guy. Good things happen when you dodge and body up your guy, even if it's by mistake.
Georgetown on the season, 13 of 36 in the man-up. That's at 36%. They didn't have an opportunity to do so in the last game, so their first opportunity here in quite some time. So it's a 30 seconds, though. Stu Shannon is in.
Watch a skip pass to Como.
Casey. There's Como. In front, Earl lost it. Couldn't quite hang on as the penalty is now over. Casey's got it back for Georgetown, back at full strength as Notre Dame. So quick 30 seconds there and to no avail for the Hoyas. Still down 4-3, 2.5 left here in the first half at Notre Dame. Seligman. Taylor Trepuk is on him for Notre Dame. Casey with a shot. Deflected the save. Kemp.
That save gives me nightmares. His older brother Joey did that to us when I was at Denver. I can't tell you how many kick saves that kid had.
Well, it's an entire family is basically you have to learn by. It's unbelievable.
CJ, All-American at Fairfield, Great Western Lacrosse Player of the Year. Joey, 4-time All-American, a first-team All-American. That kid made more kick saves, I'll tell you. And you saw it out of his younger brother, the youngest of the 3 All-American goalies. This kid is just as good as any of them.
Joey here at Notre Dame from 2005 to 2008. CJ at Fairfield from 2000 to 2003. All-American goalies, the brothers, CJ, Joey, and now John Kemp. Notre Dame still on defense here, though. Seligman for Georgetown as they swing it around, trying to tie this thing up before the end of the half. In front, Maravita, a chance at it, and backed up by Emila.
That is just such solid defense by Ridgeway. Perfect position. Let your man beat you underneath a little bit and be right there ready to chop when the guy's stick shows. Just perfect defense, textbook.
When you think about the shot selection here today by Georgetown, that was something, coming in. They had a lot of shots on goal. And there's another one right there by Seligman. Another save with a rebound. Como puts it in. He's got the hat trick this afternoon.
To answer your question, I don't think it's been a problem. I didn't like that shot that they shot as you were saying it, although it did result in a rebound where Como comes up and grabs the garbage. As a typical Canadian player, these guys are so used to rebounds because in the box lacrosse game, there are rebounds constantly, and they just get really good at just being around and throwing the ball into an open net.
Second straight game with a hat trick for Travis Como from Canada. The sophomore attackman has tied this thing up at 4. Just over a minute to go here in this first half. Fight for the faceoff. Notre Dame's coming out with it. Liam O'Connor.
One of the tough times to clear is right after a faceoff. Although they have no trouble here, but sometimes when you're subbing, it puts you in your position where you're not a man up anymore. Normally, when you're clearing, you are actually a man up because there is a goalie on your clearing team and plus an even matchup of attack and defense.
Brenneman now here for Notre Dame. Thoughts, Jamie, the final 40 seconds of this first half. You're tied at 4.
Well, guess who? David Earl's dodging, trying to draw stuff.
Pfeiffer. Coming up 20 seconds left here at the end of the first half. See if Notre Dame gets a good shot off here, so we're tied at 4. Working it in. There it is. Save. Deflection. Jack Davis comes up with it. Here's Georgetown with an opportunity with 5 seconds left. And they throw it away.
Well, that was a risk worth taking. I think the best we've seen out of Notre Dame so far is when they attack from straight out top, particularly with David Earl, who's getting the short stick.
Great game this afternoon here. Going to go into halftime, tied at 4. Georgetown trying to get a signature win, boost up the resume for tournament time, and Notre Dame trying to stay undefeated. Coming up on the Warrior Halftime Report, we've got a Warrior Pro Summit on the top players in the game. Jamie's picks on his Offensive Defensive Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, and his favorite to win a national championship, plus first half highlights and stats. It's all coming up at the half. We have the head coach now of Notre Dame joining us, Kevin Corrigan. Coach, thoughts what happened here in the first half? Tie game at 4.
It's a good team. You know, we're not nothing happened. Good lacrosse both ways. I think we missed our opportunities. We had some great shots that we didn't put on cage, and that's going to be the difference. You know, a couple of their goals are a little scrappy around the crease, but that's part of who they are. We got to do a better job on that.
Coach, Jamie here. Seems like when you get pretty good spacing and you get some opportunities to get them moving and sliding, you're getting some good opportunities.
I can't think of maybe 2 possessions the whole game that have been 4 possessions for us, Jamie, but we got to cash in on them.
Coach, thanks a lot for your time. Good luck in the second half.
Thank you.
All right, Kevin Corrigan, head coach of Notre Dame, and the Fighting Irish at 7-0 on the season, trying to go to 8-0, but in a fight right now with the Georgetown Hoyas. We are tied at 4 at halftime. We'll be back with halftime from South Bend, Indiana, right after these messages. Halftime here in South Bend, Indiana, between Georgetown and Notre Dame. Welcome back to the Warrior Halftime Report. In today's Warrior Pro Summit, Quint Kesnick and his panel of professionals look at the top players in the game.
This Halftime Report is presented by Warrior. All hail.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Warrior Summit. We are talking lacrosse excellence with some of the superstars of the game. We've got Ned Crotty, Jeff Snyder, Matt Danowski, and Ken Clausen. Our topic today, who is the best player in the history of Major League Lacrosse? And, Jeff, I'm going to throw that out to you as the elder statesman of the group.
You got to go with Gary Gait. I mean, he's won everything that you can win in lacrosse. If you look back to starting in Canada with Minto Cups, Man Cups, and then to the NCAA championships and World Championships and obviously MLL championships.
He's won MLL championships as a player and a coach, but you could argue that there were some others, like a guy like Casey Powell, who could argue to be the best in the game.
Yeah, for me, I think Casey really put the league over the top. I mean, he owns the points record. I mean, it seems like he's just been the consummate best player wherever he's been for, as long as I've ever seen him play.
Ken, is there a defenseman maybe that jumps out at you when you were growing up, who you patterned your game after?
Yeah, I mean, I think growing up, it's hard to deny that Brody Merrills was a name that you constantly heard. Very good at taking away the ball, bringing it upfield, and being an offensive player as well as defensive, master.
Ned, New Jersey native, grew up when the New Jersey Pride was a franchise in the league.
Yeah, but I'd have to still probably say, all 3 of the Powells, all 3 had different games, and, all were very successful, as well as Gary Gait. And, lots of times when you talk about players in other professional sports, you talk about how many rings they have. And when you look at, the Powells and Gary Gait, they've got every award there is. So, and if that's how you're going to gauge success, I think those guys are some of the best.
Who can be the next Gary Gait? Who's the next star of the next 5 or 10 years?
Probably Sidney Crosby.
Nice.
That's tough. I mean, to project someone now to live up to those standards, I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
I don't think there is a next Gary Gait, like there's not going to be a next Michael Jordan, but I think someone who's, obviously, won championships and, put himself in a position like that is going to say Paul Rabel. I mean, from World Championships, and he hasn't got an MLL one yet, but college championships, he's the next guy who's got rings on almost over his fingers.
One thing that stands out for me, Major League Lacrosse, it's tough to win a championship now. I mean, it's not like there's 1 or 2 good teams. There's 5 or 6. The entire league is very, very tough. I mean, there's no free wins.
Well, championship weekend is one of the harder things to do in sports, to turn it around and play realistically 2 games at full tilt in 24 hours. It's a really hard thing to do in sports. It's not an easy task by any means. Interesting
to hear the opinions of these superstars. Hope you enjoyed this version of the Warrior Summit.
Welcome back to the Warrior Lacrosse halftime report here in South Bend. We're tied at 4 between Georgetown and number 2 Notre Dame. Hi again, everybody. Mike Corey alongside former Denver head coach Jamie Monroe. And time now to take a look, Jamie, at your picks here, your top accolades for this season that you predicted earlier. What do you think?
Well, first of all, Offensive Player of the Year, I love Rob Pennell. He's my favorite player in college lacrosse. He can do it all. Averaging 4.5 points a game, incredible player. Defensive Player, I'm going with Kevin Ridgway. Watching him here today just affirms my opinion. This guy is so hard to beat, and he's so smart off the ball. Coach Mike Corrado at Villanova, really putting them on the map for a second straight year. It's always harder the second year, and he's doing an incredible job. And finally, my picks for the NCAA championship. I'm going to stick with what I went with back in the February expert show, in which I basically picked Maryland Terrapins to win it all, and I just can't back out of my picks now.
I was just going to say, can't change it according to what's going on this season, right? So let's take a look at the upcoming schedule here coming up on ESPNU. We got some great games. We talked about it next weekend. It's going to be amazing. A doubleheader here as number 9 Virginia takes on number 4 Duke, and number 3 Johns Hopkins, and number 5 Maryland. How about the way the Blue Jays are playing?
Well, who hates each other more, Virginia and Duke or Hopkins and Maryland? And I would tell you that I would have to go with the Hopkins and Maryland Hatred Bowl to be the game to watch for next week's games.
And a triple header the weekend after that, so a lot of great games coming up. We're going to come back with more here from South Bend. We're tied at 4 at halftime. Georgetown, Notre Dame. Welcome back to Old Spice College Lacrosse here in South Bend, Indiana. Nice to have you along with us this afternoon for Georgetown and Notre Dame, the number 2 ranked team in the country. Right now tied with the Hoyas, who need a signature win here this afternoon to try to increase their chances of getting to the NCAA tournament. They're 5-4 right now on the season, and we'll see if they can get it. Here's your first half stats. Let's take a look at it. Georgetown, and shots on goal, or shots overall, 19-18 over the Fighting Irish right now in this first half. Ground balls, a lot of turnovers in this first half. 13 by the Hoyas, 10 by Notre Dame. That's very uncharacteristic of the Fighting Irish. They average only 11.8, which is actually first in the Big East. They've done a great job in that category. Saves 8-7 Notre Dame there. And let's take a look at what Notre Dame has done in the first half. Face-off wise, they're on top 6-4 there. Head coach Kevin Corrigan of Notre Dame had taken a couple of timeouts in that first half, and after the timeout, they came back each time to score a goal. The first was to take over the lead at 3-2, and then or to tie it up at 3-3, and then the next one gave them the lead at 4-3. But so far, Georgetown hanging right in it here. They've come to play this afternoon, that's for sure, as we're tied at 4 as we get set for the start of this second half in just a little bit here from South Bend, Indiana. Beautiful afternoon here today. Had a great day yesterday, and the sun is out. The fans are here. We'll see what happens to start this third quarter of play. Let's talk about some of the keys here, Jamie. First off, for Georgetown and the Hoyas, what they need to do to start off in the third quarter.
Well, I talked early in my points of emphasis going into this game that they had to do the little things and they had to make saves. I feel like they could do a little better job doing the little things, but Jack Davis is certainly making saves. I mean, you could say he's kind of keeping these guys in it because he's had some incredible saves. Now, that last one, I would tell you, that was not a great shot, but this one here, what a save. I mean, he is absolutely seeing the ball well and exploding to it.
Davis, a senior from Glen Ridge, New Jersey. Came in averaging, or giving up an average of 11.18 goals a game. 7 saves today. Had 6 saves all of last game, the win against Mount St. Mary's on Tuesday. So doing a pretty good job here this afternoon for Coach Urich and company. Second half, face-off. Brian Tabb for Georgetown. For Notre Dame, Liam O'Connor. And Tabb's going to win it. And then got it knocked away. Play made there initially by Sean Rogers for Notre Dame. And it'll be Notre Dame ball. We talked about those turnovers in the first half there, Jamie, and just very uncharacteristic for Notre Dame. And they had 10, and Georgetown had 13, and just not the way you want to start off the second half.
That last face-off win, Tabb won the face-off, but in reality, it's not a face-off win until your team has the ball on offense.
Pfeiffer for Notre Dame. Talk a lot about Notre Dame's defense because that's how this team has been built and how they're at 7-0. But what about the way that Georgetown has played defense so far this afternoon?
Well, I think they've played well. I mean, what they've done very well is they've put some really good pressure on the attackmen from Notre Dame, particularly when they early in possessions. They pressure you early in the possession, and it's caused some turnovers.
8th save of the afternoon for Jack Davis. Imola for the Hoyas has scored 26 goals this season, averages 2.9 a ball game, tops in the country. How did they get him more involved in the offense here?
Well, his strength is catching the ball somewhere near the net and being able to dodge off the catch. That's where he's at his best, either off the ball or right off the catch, tight to the cage. So if they could roll him off the crease, get some pop outs, get him sneaking from behind, that's where he's at his best.
Hamill is right there to the left of the cage. Como on the right of the cage and trying to work it in. That time Max Seligman. Here's Imola now. They need to keep it in. They got the warning. A couple times that happened in the first half. And they threw it away. In front. Tough shot there that time by Zach Angel. Got hit and didn't get the look and get the full stick on it. Now Notre Dame trying to clear.
Did you see how Notre Dame collapsed on defense?
That's what they do. They did it again. They just pack it in.
That was a pretty good darn scoring chance right there, coming down in transition. Rogers mishandled the ball, but what a great opportunity. I mean, Notre Dame is going to keep pushing it in transition because it is the easiest time to score goals, and they will cash in as this game goes on.
Call the push in Georgetown. Chris Norris, sophomore defender there. Substitution for Notre Dame as Pat Cotter comes in and collects it. Cotter got shut off and try to reset. Almost 3 minutes gone by here in the start of the second half. Tied at 4. Nicholas Beattie for Notre Dame. And for Kepler. Kepler's a junior midfielder from Baldwin, Maryland. Notre Dame taking their time here in the offense, trying to find the good look at the opportunity for the goal. Cotter. Cotter with a shot wide to the right and backed up. They've scored a couple in transition today. Talked about one of them coming right off the face-off early where they're able to come down and Rogers is able to get a goal. And here now, taking time on offense. That one a pass in traffic. They will regain it though and Rogers has it.
This is a great possession out of their second line, though. I'll tell you that. You love that as a coach.
There's a hard shot. Rogers saved Davis. It's loose, and Georgetown coming up with it. Dan Hostetler. Now for Ehrman. Dangerous pass all the way up, and unable to hang on with Seligman. Another turnover for the Hoyas. They've got 15 now in this ball game.
Now the first line will come back on. You just got a 2-minute possession with a couple good scoring chances. You wore out their defense a little bit. Possession time in lacrosse is a lot like a running game in football. As you possess it more at the end of the game, you will wear teams out.
What about that from the first half? Do you think Coach Corrigan for Notre Dame was saying, hey, maybe we got to kind of take a step back and take our time a little bit more with it on the offensive end?
I do. That's their general game plan. They always do that. I didn't think that they did as well as usual.
There's a shot. Another save by Davis in cage. What a play. That one by Sam or Igo. And now coming up the other way is Georgetown on the clear. Norse gives it up. And Emela's got it. Flag is thrown. Delayed penalty here coming up on Notre Dame. So Marabito now trying to work it in against Barnes of the Irish. Looking in front. The shot wide that time by Matt Sutherland. And we'll get the call here in a moment.
Well, this is big for Georgetown to have this opportunity.
It's on Brenneman of Notre Dame. Let's look at these saves by Jack Davis here for Georgetown.
In both cases, they made it easy for Davis. And not that I don't want to take anything away from him, but they really weren't the toughest saves because the shooters telegraphed their shot high.
Not exactly what Georgetown was thinking of here with a man up and ball's loose. They're just trying to get it back here now, and it's not going to happen. John Kemp has it in goal now for Notre Dame, and that's not the man-up opportunity that you were looking for. The first one they had in the first half, or was one in the first half, our first one here in the second half, and to no avail.
I like the play they ran. They ran a seal and slip like you would do in basketball, but they just did it on the first time. You really want to redirect the ball and get the ball moving a couple times. Then you can really have your seal and slip opportunities.
Georgetown 0 for 2 in the man-up so far here today. When you don't have it, it's not going to really be able to make anything happen. Obviously, they got knocked away, and here's Notre Dame now trying to break this tie at 4. 8:45 to go here in the third quarter. And Georgetown defensively taking it away. Hostetler's come up with a couple of plays like that this afternoon here. Ehrman got it knocked away.
Ehrman got blindsided a little bit there coming down. The long pole came out of the box. Ehrman didn't see him, and he was able to jump on him. His teammates could have been telling him, man on, man on.
Tyler Anderson was the one that made that one happen there, taking it away. Rogers, and he lost it, but picked up in front, and a goal scored by Steve Murphy.
Tough goal to give up for the Hoyas. I feel like the Hoya defensemen are kind of manhandling the attackmen from Notre Dame right now. But to be able to come up with this dodging chance that turns into a loose ball, that turns into an empty netter. Tough one to swallow for the Hoya coaching staff.
Rogers got it knocked away initially, and then Steve Murphy comes up with it for the goal. Third of the season to put Notre Dame on top 5-4 here.
Hey, we're even in garbage goals now. Como had one. Now the Irish have one. You know, it's all even as far as the garbage.
Liam O'Connor wins the faceoff over Patrick Murray of Georgetown. And a chance to set up offense here once again, now leading 5-4.
See the pressure? They're really putting it on. They really feel like they're going to be able to force Notre Dame into more turnovers, and I don't disagree. I think that that's something you maybe want to do against them. They play against a soft defense every day. Put a little pressure on them, see how they handle it.
Is that what you think from Georgetown, to give them the credit defensively, kind of forcing ND in some of the situations they've had here today?
They've certainly created some turnovers when they put some pressure on, particularly early in possessions. I think you see them lay off a little bit as the possession wears on, but early on they are pressuring.
Pfeiffer works off a little pick from Nicholas Beatty. Pfeiffer still with it. As Ryan Foley, who's just in front of the net and moves off it. David Earl's out there as well up top. Stall warning here for Notre Dame. And they're going to lose it. Ryan Foley could not hang on.
That was a good chance, too. That was pretty good offense. A little bit of an unlucky handle. Notre Dame to get in the hole here, get their pole on quick.
How about the pace that Georgetown has been playing at here this afternoon? And they've turned it over a little bit, but how do you like it pace-wise?
Well, I like the way that they are putting pressure on, like I mentioned, in the early part of possessions. They're trying to push the ball, but Notre Dame is so good at getting back on defense. They don't give up much transition. Notre Dame plays such a packed-in style of defense, a zoning style of man-to-man defense, that it's hard to create a lot of chances.
Weiss for Georgetown right now, as the Hoyas trying to get a signature win here this season. Beating the #2 team in the country on their home turf would do it. Here's a shot wide, backed up by Emola for Georgetown. They're at 5-4 this season. Notre Dame undefeated at 7-0. Georgetown's missed the tournament, though, for the past 3 straight seasons. Coach Jurek, and he had said that, his players understand the importance of this one. He didn't really have to do too much talking about it. They understand. They know how sound Notre Dame is as well, and that they don't beat themselves. So I think maybe a reason why that Georgetown has had to put on more pressure in this ball game, Jamie, to try to cause some turnovers and force some things to happen in their favor.
For sure. And I think it's how they play. They've got great athletes. They're going to always put some pressure on you. And like I say, early in the possession, the reason why you do it there, it's less risky because teams don't really want to dodge early in the possession. They want to sub. They want to get everybody a touch. And so you can almost, with no risk, put a lot of pressure on early in a possession.
The three on attack right now, Ricky Marabito with the ball with Travis Como and Jeff Fountain for Georgetown. Marabito.
So this is an invert. This is when the midi takes a midi behind. And Notre Dame is going to look to help here. But they're a little bit inconsistent on what they do, which is both good and bad for the Notre Dame defense. It's good for them because the inconsistency makes it hard for the offense to know.
Dan McKinney had tried the shot, but he didn't have the ball, and now Marabito's pass out to Emola goes wide. It is Notre Dame ball. ESPNU's coverage of college baseball continues tonight with an in-state battle. Number 16, UC Irvine, facing number 13, Cal State Fullerton. College baseball on ESPNU tonight at 5 Eastern. Here from beautiful South Bend, Indiana, Notre Dame. Beautiful day in early April for this college lacrosse matchup, this Big East affair here today as number 2 Notre Dame hanging on with a 5-4 advantage right now over Georgetown. Under 5 minutes to go in the third quarter. Mike Corey and Jamie Monroe with you this afternoon. It's Notre Dame playing a little sloppy here this afternoon, uncharacteristic, but does have the advantage. And defense, again, continuing just to keep them in this thing in every ball game this season. Good hitting going on as well. Bobby Boyle going to come up with it here for Georgetown. Will they be able to clear?
That was a great hit. I saw the ref put his hand up like it was a push. I don't know about that. That was straight in his chest. Watch for a midfield dodge from out top, out of Seligman, and watch for Como to be popping up behind that dodge and making a hard cut to his left hand down to Marabito as the ball goes through X. It's one of their best looks, and I bet you they're going to go back to this soon.
Emola, top scorer of the nation, 2.9 a game on average, gives it up behind the cage, finding Brian Casey. Casey is thinking about a shot. Defender falls down. Casey with a look, but slings it way wide. And backed up. Let's take a look back at the hit that we just saw. There's some great sound from that and great intensity from these guys after this afternoon.
I can hear it from up here, and the ref was going to call a push on that one. I thought it was a pretty darn good hit. What'd you think?
Yeah, me too. There is Steve Murphy, who just scored the last goal for Notre Dame to put them up 5-4. Georgetown looking for the equalizer. Casey, oh, nice spin move. Looks, fires high. Backed up there by Ricky Marabito.
Well, that was the play I was just talking about. Although they didn't feed Como, what they ended up doing was overplaying Como to the extent that they got the backside action, the opportunity for that backside dodge off the windup with the spin move.
Casey is down, shaking up on the play. The sophomore from Bethesda, Maryland. He got hit after a nice little spin move. Let's take a look at what happened here.
Wow, follow through. It looked like a clean hit. I can't really tell if it was too high or not. I mean, it looks like it probably must have been, but from what I saw, I didn't see too much head action. Did you?
No, I don't think so. Let's hope he's all right. He's up on at least the one knee here, just trying to get collected, I think, is the sophomore from Bethesda. ESPN News coverage of Old Spice College Lacrosse continues Saturday with 2 exciting matchups at noon. Got number 9 Virginia taking on number 4 Duke, and then at 8 Eastern, number 3 Johns Hopkins taking on number 5 Maryland. It's Old Spice College Lacrosse next Saturday on ESPNU doubleheader. Going to want to check that out. That's pretty darn good right there. All top 10 teams in the country going at it next Saturday.
So it seems like the 2 best looks are the single invert out of Georgetown, trying to see if they can get Notre Dame to slide late and have an opportunity to get a come-around shot, or that dump down off the dodge out top. from Seligman.
Casey off after being shaken up. Dan McKinney is checked in. Seligman gives it up. Emola. Georgetown down 5-4, under 3 minutes to go in the third. Only scoring so far in the third quarter, Steve Murphy from Notre Dame. Marabito. Again, just not a lot of space to get a good look at the net. Zach Angel trying a little stutter step there, going against Taylor Trapuka for Notre Dame. Como has a hat trick today for Georgetown, 44. He's up high. Good spin in front, still with it. Ball now knocked away. Finally, Como. Ball loose, whistle, push on Notre Dame. And we'll stay with Georgetown. They had a little opportunity there in front, Jamie, but nice defensive play finally. But
solid defense
away.
All the way around. Everything that Georgetown's trying right now is being stymied by great team defense. On the Seligman dodge dump down, by the time two passes go through, no one's open. They've recovered. Here on the invert, now they're just saying, hey, we're sliding, we're going, we're helping inside, and they are doing a great job playing together here.
Seligman. Emola's got it right now. It's Marabito with Emola and Como, the attackman here for Georgetown, trying to tie this thing up. Emola looking for his first goal of the afternoon. McKinney. McKinney, little space. He got shut off. Emola shoots the bounce shot. That time wide to the right, and this one's going to go to the Fighting Irish. Nobody back there for Georgetown that time. As Emola looking to get onto the scoreboard at 2 goals in the last game. 26 on the year, just not much happening for him here today.
That was a good take. I felt like he could have done that the first time he dodged. All right, here's the pressure coming down. Watch them put a little pressure. See if Notre Dame could fight through it.
Georgetown's been on a tremendous amount of pressure this afternoon. They've come up with a lot of takeaways. So they've got to get one here. Yes. This call is on Notre Dame. Got to like the aggressiveness here. It's the Hoyas with about a minute to work with here this third quarter.
We got to remember those players taking the ball down the field. They've just played a couple minutes of defense. They're gassed. They're tired. And all of a sudden, A and B, they're not used to playing against pressure.
Schuler coming in front here for Georgetown. We call it crease violation, so Notre Dame ball. How about that? Ryan Schuler, the senior attackman. And he's a little shaken up in front of the net as well.
Yes, that was a great take. He got underneath his guy, dove, unfortunately ended up in the crease, but had a heck of a scoring chance there.
And right in front of the net, he's still down. 47 seconds left here in the third. Irish up by 1. The only goal scored here in the third quarter.
Let's take a look at this. He dodges hard, dodges a short stick. Looks like maybe he had hit his head into his knee. I'm not really sure exactly what happened.
Yeah, hit his head there low. It's the knee of Kevin Randall for Notre Dame.
You know, it was a pretty good take, but what he really needed to do on that was body his guy. So he was, you know, if he would have made his move and smashed his right shoulder into the defensive player, he would have created enough space where he wouldn't have ended up in the crease. He would have had a great scoring chance.
The Irish with 30 seconds to work with here. As the half is winding down. Or the third quarter, winding down. Oh, takeaway, just pass right into midair, intercepted. Como not going to try to track it down for Georgetown. He does. And what looked like would have been a final shot at the end of the third for Notre Dame now could be for the Hoyas. And a chance to tie. Marabito in front. Emola score right before the end of the third, and we're tied at 5.
If there's one thing that coaches cannot stand, it's giving up a goal in the last 30 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever, of a half. Here, off the turnover, they drive hard for Max, and a little bit too much of a helping situation from the defender on the wing, giving up a free wing shot from the leading scorer on the Georgetown Hoyas, Emola.
And there's his first goal of the afternoon, 27th of the season. With just 3 seconds left here before the end of the third. Notre Dame looked like they would have had the final shot. and a 5-4 advantage. Instead, Georgetown comes back with the equalizer by Dave Emola. The sophomore attackman ties it at 5. We're set for an exciting fourth quarter when we come back right after this. Welcome back to South Bend, Indiana. Time now to take a look at today's Old Spice game track, and probably a little closer than Notre Dame would like to see here. Georgetown fighting hard this afternoon, and Como with 3 goals to help lead the Hoyas.
You know, young players, they all think they have to score their goals going 1 against 1. Look at Como here. He's catching the ball and figuring out ways to shoot around screens, sneaking and diving across off the catch, and then finally the master of the garbage goal. Como off the rebound, hangs in there, should have been taken body, and he gets another goal. Goals on the board if you play smart like that.
Como with 3 today. Seligman's got 1. Emola just scored for Georgetown right before the end of the third to tie this game at 5. And here we are, start of the fourth. At the face-off X, Liam O'Connor trying to go get it for Notre Dame, but Brian Tabb for Georgetown, and the Hoyas will win this one and start the fourth with the possession.
You know, back to the end of the third there. What a terrible way. I was just noticing that Georgetown was backing off Brenneman. They didn't want any part of pressuring that guy at the end of the quarter, and then somehow Zach just, just started dodging a little bit and do what we've all done, threw it to the wrong guy by mistake.
Pass got taken away, just completely intercepted. Georgetown going down the other end of the field, and Emola got a good look at the cage and fired a hard shot for the score to tie it at 5. Now here's Zach Angel as Angel tries to work it in. His shot saved by John Kemp for Notre Dame. Big one there. And picked up. Kemp. And a little trouble way back there. Georgetown's going to take it away.
That was a nice ride. It was a little bit of a risk because all of a sudden there was a midi down at the end line. Should Kemp have gotten out of that play, there would have been certain transition, but it paid off for Georgetown.
Georgetown, they're going to throw it away. Another turnover here in this ball game. It's been a big factor. 15 plus, their 16th of the afternoon. Just over a minute in. Tied at 5. Like a 20, pardon me. 16 for Notre Dame. Notre Dame #1 in the nation in turnovers per game with just 11.8. Today with 16, so. But Georgetown, they played hard. They've caused a lot of those this afternoon. There's a shot wide to the right, backed up. David Earl, who's got a goal today for Notre Dame, also an assist.
David Earl's got the matchup with the pole going on Brenneman. Actually, 3 short sticks out here.
Igo lost it. Who's going to pick it back up? Chris Norris going after it for Georgetown, and he's got it. Now, a couple of times we've seen that here this afternoon. Why that long pass like that, Jamie?
Well, you know, a long pass, if people are open and the ball's on the money, is fine. But Georgetown is just not getting into their breakout spots, and that'll kill you in a game like this.
21st turnover of the afternoon.
Back in storm. Body. Double. Come on.
Good pass up that time. Here's Colin Igo. Ryan Foley. Now from Max Pfeiffer.
I think I'd like to see Notre Dame take their wing dodges a little bit lower. They're beating their guys, but they're not beating them in shooting range. You're going to see these guys, get topside, steps on their man, but then they're coming across at 15 yards, and it's been a couple of those easy saves for Davis. They got high wing dodges. They got to get themselves a little bit lower.
Zach Brenneman. Gives it up top, Pfeiffer. Doesn't have the look. In front is Colin Igo. Here's a hard shot and a goal put in by David Earl. It's his second of the day, and Notre Dame regains the lead.
He stung that one, didn't he? You could hear that thing hit the net from all the way up here behind the glass. Brenneman ends up running the ball behind the net, pops it up, and then it's a skip pass right through. Really nice shot by David Earl. That guy brings the heat, doesn't he?
That was from deep. Tough to get that one. David Earl, the captain, the senior from Simsbury, Connecticut. 6-5 Notre Dame. 2 goals for him today and an assist. Tab again for Georgetown and Liam O'Connor for Notre Dame at the X.
I think Georgetown wanted to call on that one. It seemed like a little bit of a tripping action there, but no call, no luck. Let's see what Notre Dame does now. I mean, this is like, this is why they're undefeated. Bad turnover, but the reason why they're undefeated is they've been good at the end of games.
I was just going to say that's going to be a crucial possession right there to see if they can create a little bit of separation, but they didn't get the opportunity to do so.
No.
Georgetown has been in some tight ball games this season.
Georgetown's just got to feel a little bit snake bit. They had some games that they felt like they should have won. The Syracuse game, they almost had that game won, and somehow miraculously Syracuse comes back at the end to win that game in overtime.
Lost to Syracuse 9-8 in OT back on March 12th. Came within 2 goals of defeating Duke as well. 14-12 in that ball game. Lost to Harvard by 1, 16-15. So no surprise that they're right in this thing here this afternoon with an opportunity to win. Normally the fourth quarter is Notre Dame's quarter. They usually do a better job in the second and the fourth. Typically off to some of the slower starts this season, but almost about 5 minutes and a third of the way gone by here in the fourth quarter, and Georgetown trying to tie it up once again. Marabito.
I guarantee Notre Dame feels better with the ball on defense sometimes because their defense is just so consistent. I mean, they're giving up some goals, but just not a lot, and then they get great goal play. I remember feeling that way as a coach sometimes. Like, you feel like, if the ball's on offense, that's great and all, except for the fact if you lose it, they can score more easily in transition sometimes, and they're going to score on you in the 6-on-6 half-field setting.
That was a turnover. That was a pass. Now Notre Dame, almost lost that one right there. And they will. Kurt Watkinson for Georgetown. Como. Just seems like when some of the goals that have been scored for Georgetown, they've moved the ball around quickly and got better passing and got more players involved.
Yeah, it's that in the occasions when Notre Dame's a little bit late to slide. They've been pretty timely, like right here. They're in good shape. I think that their ball movement will happen when there's been a slower recovery.
Here's a shot of the goal by Zach Angel, and he's going to tie it up for Georgetown. Knotted at 6.
But that's what I was just referring to. They had the first round of slides on the ball side. Then all of a sudden, they re-attack on a pass across the top. Angel takes it, and they're just a little bit late. What a great little V-cut dodge right there. And he just hammers that thing near side. That's a tough save for a goalie to make.
Angel for Georgetown. And Kevin Corrigan, obviously not happy for Notre Dame.
I couldn't see the number on that guy, but I'm pretty sure it was a guy who dropped the ball on the clear, just coming and just gave that possession away. That was a total giveaway on Notre Dame's part.
And it's going to go over to Georgetown here, so just like that, Notre Dame had the ball and a 6-5 advantage. Then they turned it over. The Hoyas have scored to tie it up at 6, and now they've got it. And a little bit of a momentum swing now for Georgetown. Kind of work this thing around and look for a good opportunity, which have been hard to come by today, but still to be able to kind of get the shots and get the goals that they have had today. I mean, they've had some good looks. They've gotten some good shots by Como in front. Emela on a hard shot before the end of the third. Case again, double team, gets through it, puts it in for point blank and knocked away by John Kemp.
What a great play all around.
Take a look at Saturday's studs here from yesterday afternoon. What a great day in college lacrosse, wasn't it?
Steele Stanwyck is one of my favorite players to watch. He's just a quarterback, a Rob Pennell type, great player for Virginia. Stephen Keogh, Canadian, goal scorer, just unbelievable at finding the opportunities to score goals. And David Lau stepping up when Rob Pennell is held to probably a season low of 2 goals. He probably played great, but he's been averaging nearly 6 points a game. So Lau with 5 and 3, what a game.
Today we've had some pretty good studs as well. As Como has got a hat trick today for Georgetown as that shot by Max Seligman off the mark, deflected, and Emola comes up with it, but his pass, trying to find teammate Ricky Marabito, goes out. Notre Dame ball under 8 to go here in the fourth, almost to the halfway point of the fourth quarter. Tied at 6. That game yesterday with Virginia and North Carolina. Coach Kevin Corrigan, of course, a Virginia grad in 1981. We were talking at the end of his practice. He brought me inside, showed me around in the beautiful facility here at Arlotta Stadium in the locker room, and the game was on. And we saw the overtime goal as Virginia was able to come up with a win.
Gotta love all the games on TV these days. Okay, we need a good possession out of Notre Dame here if you're Kevin Corrigan.
Steve Murphy up top just gave it up. He scored today. Pass across the field and dangerous through some traffic. Nice deflection that time by Barney Ehrman for Georgetown. Notre Dame, though, will retain it. Ehrman, you liked his play, obviously, coming in 7th in the country and 30 caused turnovers on the season coming in. Almost had another right there. There's a shot wide to the right. That time by Pat Cotter for Notre Dame.
You see what I mean? They're beating their guys, but they're beating them across the top at like 14, 15 yards. If they would just take their wing dodges lower and come back lower, I really feel like they'd be getting shots off right off the dodge.
Offensively, not what the Notre Dame was built by, obviously, but shooting outside like that, they've got to get in closer. Talking about
it's not that. It's just that. It's just generally speaking, you know, when you come back top side and they're not sliding too quick, you take yourself out of a shooting spot. I mean, you might as well have the opportunity to shoot, feed, or dump it as opposed to really being out of shooting range.
Goalkeeper Jack Davis collected it after the pass intended for Westy Hopkins for Notre Dame in front. Now the Hoyas. Hostetler gives it up. There's Jerry Riley now. I think a couple of times in some of these unsettled situations they have an opportunity to make something happen, but Notre Dame just defensively, they're so sound. There's Jeff Fountain right now for Georgetown, freshman from Timonium, Maryland. Fountain working against Quinn Cully of Notre Dame. Under 6 left in this ball game.
Notre Dame seems to be a little better off when they're sliding earlier than if they're waiting too long. There's been a lot of opportunities in goal score when there's been no slide.
Fountain, that was a shot, and it's going to stay with Georgetown as we're tied at 6. Coming up Monday on Gruden QB Camp, John Gruden breaks down the top QB prospects in the upcoming draft and sits down with quarterback Jake Locker to point out the good and the bad, as only Gruden can. Gruden QB Camp, Jake Locker on ESPNU Monday at 7 Eastern. Beautiful day here today in South Bend, Indiana at Notre Dame. Number 2 Fighting Irish in Georgetown. This Big East clash tied at 6. Coming up on 5 minutes left. Mike Corey, Jamie Monroe with you this afternoon. Pleasure to have you on board. Fighting Irish trying to stay undefeated as they come up with a steal here. And Georgetown trying to get a big signature win over the number 2 ranked team on the road to increase their chances of trying to get back to the NCAA tournament where they have not been in 3 years. Notre Dame has gone to 5 straight and lost in the title game last year to Duke in overtime.
There are 2 components to the slide and recovery defense, right? The slide, which is essentially the double team, and the recovery, who gets back to match up. In that case, it was the recovery man that was able to actually make the pickoff.
What a hustle by Jack Davis of Georgetown, the goalkeeper, going all the way back there to get that one to be closest. And now Georgetown on a defensive stand will attempt to clear it, go the other way with it. Kind of felt like this would kind of be a ball game like this, right, Jamie? It's, I mean, tight. Notre Dame doesn't really ever seem to have a huge lead on anybody, but, you know, we'll come back and talk more about that when we return. Timeout here on the field. Tied at 6 with 4:03 left from South Bend. We are tied at 6 between Georgetown and Notre Dame here in South Bend. Just over 4 minutes left in the fourth. In October of 2010, a delegation representing the Sudan visited the University of Notre Dame's Kroc Institute for International Peace Studies. After the visit, the school organized the first rally entitled Stand with Sudan to express its support for full implementation of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement. You see Playing for Peace, the green t-shirts out there today here at Notre Dame, and to call attention to the urgency of securing a sustainable, just peace for all Sudanese. So at this university-wide rally, it's what they did at halftime here. And the Play for Peace tournament made the peace sign at midfield here at our Lotta Stadium. Not just the men's lacrosse team, but men's basketball, student government, and seeking to unite the Notre Dame community for one final demonstration of solidarity with the people of Sudan. A great thing here at Notre Dame, Playing for Peace. And the green t-shirts here this afternoon at our Lotta Stadium. Notre Dame trying to come up with a big win, though, here to cap it all off. And right now in a battle with Georgetown, tied at 6, under 4 minutes to go. Hoya's with it. Zach Angel, who scored, trying to do it again. Wide to the right with a shot. Closest there was Marabido, and a good diving effort, though, by Notre Dame, but still Hoya ball.
Zach Angel is so quick. He is really hard to stay with. His change of direction is phenomenal.
Angel's got 12 goals in the season. Marabido fires before the Notre Dame ball. You get a push there?
I think it was a moving pick call.
Okay. On the clear, Sam Barnes here now. Up to Zach Brenneman. Sean Rogers, who scored the first 2 goals of the game for Notre Dame. And Notre Dame wants to talk it over. Timeout. We'll be back. Notre Dame has used their timeouts wisely in this ball game. See if they make something happen when we return. Tied at 6. Georgetown and Notre Dame tied at 6 here in the fourth with just over 3 minutes left.
So Notre Dame right now is coming up with a play that's going to try to get them the shot and hopefully the game-winning goal. Normally when you come out of these timeouts, you have to be prepared for zone as well as for man. Georgetown hasn't played a ton of zone this year, but they played a little against Syracuse, so Notre Dame will probably be a little more on the surprise side if they come out in zone. Look for David Earl to take the ball out top the same way that he's been taking it in creating offense earlier in the game. My guess is he'll dodge the top, he'll split to his right hand hard, draw a slide, and I bet you the look is going to be the same one they had early, which is going to be inside to Rogers. That's my guess.
Notre Dame scored a couple of goals coming out of timeouts here this afternoon. That's the guy, David Earl, who scored a couple. It's been over 7 minutes, 7 minutes and 35 seconds to be exact. As long as Notre Dame's gone without a goal so far here.
Okay, chess match. They put the pole on Earl, so they were smart. That's what I figured they would have. It would have gone to him if he had the short. Now they're going to they might still go to him. Look at him. This guy's got
Earl going right by Ehrman in front.
He drew the foul. He drew the push. He might be a little banged up in there too, but he said, you know what, I got a pole on me, I don't care. He went so hard, got his body in front, had a scoring chance.
Technical foul, 17 blue, push, 30 seconds.
And that's on Bobby Boyle, the senior defenseman. Well, you just said it, Jamie. I mean, that was just crazy right there as Earl just went right by Barney Ehrman for Georgetown. Let's take a look at it again here.
Look at this guy go. He goes so hard, and see how he cuts in front of his man? That's the whole key. He cuts his man off. And when you can beat a guy and cut him off, you're going to be in great position.
This is the first man-up opportunity for Notre Dame here in this ball game, and it comes at the most crucial time. Brenneman goes up top for Earl. Earl's got it back. Brenneman passes in front. Shot, score! Max Pfeiffer. Notre Dame's got the lead.
So Notre Dame ran what's called a 3-3, an offset 3-3. They dragged the whole defense to one side and just kept cracking the whip, so to speak, moving the ball. And what a shot. I mean, when you look at Pfeiffer's shot, that's a tough play. You got to catch it. You got to get rid of it quickly.
Kevin Corrigan liking it once again out of the timeout. Max Pfeiffer, 4th goal of the season, probably one of the biggest, to put Notre Dame up 7-6. Now with 2:31 to go, we've had 6 ties, 7 lead changes here today. What a game this afternoon from South Bend. But Notre Dame, the face-off here in Georgetown, able to win it and a chance to tie this thing up with just over 2 minutes to go. And they want to talk it over. Timeout, Hoyas.
Plenty of time on the board for the Hoyas to score not only one, but maybe even take a lead. They're just going to need to come up with some way, and I think it's going to be a top dodge against a short stick and hope to have that opportunity to tie this ball game up.
What a game so far this afternoon from South Bend, 7-6. Notre Dame has regained the lead thanks to Max Pfeiffer, and now it's time for the defense here. And what about the defense over the past 4 years by Notre Dame? And it's right at their average, giving up 6 goals right now here to Georgetown.
Yeah, Notre Dame has traditionally played great defense, and one of the things about their defense is it never changes. You know, I was referring to Georgetown coming out on defense. Are they going to play man or zone? Notre Dame will never come out and play zone. They won't double pole the midfield. They won't shut guys off. What they do is they play helping, sluffing, sliding, fake sliding defense, and they get so good at it that they just give up lower percentage shots than most teams. And then when you've got basically 7 years of first-team All-American caliber goalies, and Kemp, Rogers, and now the youngest Kemp, you've got the makings of another great defense.
Ridgway, Kevin Ridgway, the senior from Kensington, Maryland. The big guy at 6'6", 215, one of the leaders on this defense for Notre Dame. As he helped come through here in the late stages of this ball game, as Georgetown attempts to tie it up. Notre Dame, #1 in the country in defense this season, 6.1 goals a game. They've given up 6 here. Georgetown, one of the most offensive scoring teams in the country, almost 12 goals per game. They need just one more here to tie this thing up. 2 minutes left. Maravito looking in front.
They need to reset that. They do that top dodge again. That's what they need to do. Get that ball back out top. Top dodge, try to draw something. Last time they didn't go hard enough. This guy's got to go harder. Last time he kind of jogged through it. Watch for Como on the roll-off right here.
There's a good recovery by Como there now. Hard shot high of the net by Seligman.
That's what I'm talking about. And you see how Notre Dame was a little bit late. And that's because they leave it up to their players to make reads on every play. And sometimes a player makes a mistake. Most of the time it creates unpredictability.
Quick shot in front, but nobody there to back it up for Georgetown. What were they thinking there as Emala, tried to fire it in, and that's just a mistake, right, Jamie?
It is. I mean, I don't know where Maravito was. He probably thought he was open somewhere. It was probably his responsibility to be making that play, as Como is always going to be a guy who's going to be in front of the net.
Wow, so now with just 1:20 left, Notre Dame with a 7-6 advantage here. An opportunity to run some clock. They've got to keep it in. Down to a minute. Coming up next, we've got softball right here on ESPNU, so stay tuned. Right now in the late stages of this one from South Bend, Indiana, Notre Dame leading at Georgetown 7-6, and a timeout with 57 seconds left. Notre Dame trying to stay undefeated and go to 8-0. Let's take a look back at how they were able to get to this advantage. It's Max Pfeiffer.
Pfeiffer with, again, the great handle and the quick release, and that's one of the things that people don't put as much stock in. Everybody thinks you have to shoot the ball 100 miles an hour to be a great shooter. How about catching it and getting rid of it so quickly that A, you get time to get the shot off, and B, the goalie just can't react to it because it's so quick.
What do you think's being happening here in this? What do you think's being said here in this huddle by Kevin Corrigan, head coach for Notre Dame?
Well, they're getting prepared for two things. One is how are they going to keep the ball away and beat the double team. B, he's probably saying don't shoot the thing no matter what. And C, he's going to get guys back in the hole and not give up transition. Probably the most important thing is if you're going to lose it behind the net. Don't bring it in front where all of a sudden you can get fast broken to give up that tying goal. Make them really earn it. If they're going to score on us, make them get it down the field, let us allow us to ride a little bit, burn some time off, and then have the opportunity to go back to our 6-on-6 defense.
Alongside former Denver Lacrosse head coach Jamie Monroe, I'm Mike Corey. We're here in South Bend, Indiana, and Notre Dame, Arlotta Stadium, where the Fighting Irish are trying to go to 8-0 and stay undefeated, along with Syracuse, the only two undefeated teams in the nation right now. Georgetown trying to get a huge signature win on the road at number 2 ND, but down 7-6 right now. 59 seconds left.
Guess who's picking it up? The athlete, David Earl. Now he's got two beasts. He's got Erman and Hostetler on him, and they may have a set play where he's going to try to move the ball and throw it behind. It looks like they might be setting up for something, or it's going to be David Earl just running.
And here we go, Notre Dame with it, deep in the corner.
And it is Earl just running.
Earl trying to get through a double team. He does. Earl. Jack Davis.
All right, getting the hole now. Notre Dame's got to get back on defense.
Good play by Georgetown. The extra man able to get it, and here they go. On the clear. 30 seconds left. In front, shot wide to the right. Notre Dame ball backed up that time by Jerry Riley. Had an opportunity for Georgetown, just missed with 25 seconds left.
All right, so Georgetown got everything you possibly could have wanted. They actually did generate transition. Notre Dame was slow to get their pole on. They dodged in the transition and had about as good of a chance as you could ever have.
Notre Dame needing to kill 12 more seconds to remain undefeated at 8-0. It was a battle here this afternoon against Georgetown. They came to play. They forced a lot of turnovers. Another one right there, but just too little, too late for the Hoyas. Notre Dame hangs on and wins it 7-6. They are undefeated still at 8-0 with a big-time win this afternoon over Georgetown. Well, Jamie, they got it done here. There was a battle, but they made it happen.
There's nothing like the one-goal victories. When you get a one-goal win, you feel so lucky, so proud. Coach Corrigan is definitely going to need to sit down for a couple minutes here.
That'll do it. Our final score, Notre Dame 7 and Georgetown 6. Up next, ESPNU College Softball. Number 1, Alabama and LSU. Let's send you out to Tiger Park in Baton Rouge. And with a call, Beth Mowens and Jessica Mendoza.